So normally I don't talk about Clemson that much on this podcast, even though we have those interviews. If you want to see them, we have one with Bo Collins, Barrett Carter, Marcus Tate, Ricky Sapp, and a bunch other. If you want to check out the show, that's what we're about. We do interviews and we talk about stuff daily. That's just for whoever is listening that isn't regularly listening to the show, just what we're about. So I don't normally talk about Clemson on my own. I'm usually talking with athletes or coaches, and it's kind of weird. This is not one that I've wanted to make necessarily because I don't want to come across as like super biased because I do go to Clemson. I've been a Clemson fan my entire life. So I have to kind of separate. There's like a wall that I have to kind of divide, being like, hey, I want to be objective, but at the same time, this really excites me. So Clemson's 2023 class has been completely insane. They have 12 commits in the month of June alone. It has been absolutely fascinating to see how that process has developed. And this video is going to be titled Why This Could Be Dabo's Best Class Yet. Not necessarily in terms of talent or what they potentially could do, but I think the class of 2023, their commitments alone send a message. And they won't necessarily be on the field. It necessarily speaks to what the Clemson culture is all about and what Dabo Swinney's built over the last decade plus. It's crazy that he's been there this long. He's kind of grown up in this program as I have, as because he started in 2008. I was 7 years old. I'm almost 21, and he's 2 national championships in and 10 win seasons. It's kind of crazy. So let's talk about last year. Last year was a weird one for sure. They went to the playoff with Trevor Lawrence. They lost their top quarterback, their top running back, both going to the Jacksonville Jaguars in the first round. And so there was that like air that was almost sucked out of the offense. The defense was coming back for sure, all loaded. The defensive line, it always brings it. It's crazy with Clemson. D-line U or wide receiver U, whatever you want to call it. But there was a significant drop in production that you had to fill in and replace. You had new guys coming in like Will Shipley, maybe Kobe Pace or Phil Maffa was going to take that role. And then, of course, there's DJ Uyunglele. It's not a secret that he struggled last year, and it's not a secret that a lot of the fans and a lot of Clemson media out and the media outside of Clemson were really tough on how this season went. Didn't necessarily live up to expectations. A lot of people thought it should be playoff or bust. It was a tough loss opening to Georgia, where honestly, one throw decides it. I think that you potentially have a 3-3 game going in overtime. There's a lot of debate on how that potentially could go. But it was strange because Clemson made a lot of significant improvements. They won 6 straight games to end the season. They won their bowl game. They beat Iowa State. It was a very positive ending to a weird season. That's how I describe it. It was weird because there was a lot of controversy. There was a lot of negative energy. And so you really look towards the future after a season like this. You go say, how does Clemson rebound from this? Or rebound, because most programs I feel would love to have a 10-win season and that be called a disappointment, which is crazy. I want to emphasize that because I'm going to be having this hopefully on TigerNet. Hopefully some people see this. I want people to know that are Clemson fans. I don't like bashing them, and I don't think they should be for a season like this. But how I want to kind of elaborate on it is you look to the future. You look to see how things progress. How will this program go from here? Or where will they go from here? So this 2023 class sends a big message. It shows that recruits across the country still look to Clemson as a place to go to as one of the top schools in the country. It sees that Dabo Swinney, despite losing his top 2 assistant coaches in Tony Elliott, the offensive coordinator, and Brent Venables, the defensive coordinator, both huge parts of this recruiting process that have gotten tons of talented players over to Clemson to win tons of games, tons of playoff games, a lot of success, national championships. That is all gone. There's a huge vacuum, this weird area. You bring in Wes Goodwin, you bring in Brent. You not necessarily bring them in because they were already within the program. You just elevate them from a certain position. And they have made some big time recruitment. We got Christopher Vizina, you have Noble Johnson, a lot of these big time stars. You have Vic Burley. There's a lot of big time guys that still want to call Clemson their home. Vizina, who's going to the Elite 11 right now as I'm making this podcast or is already there, is going to be competing as one of the top quarterbacks in the nation. This class sends a message to the college football world that not only is Clemson not going anywhere, but they're going to be the next generation to do it because these only every 3 or 4 years, we get a new set of athletes, a new set of stars, a new set of stories. It's crazy how things kind of it got flipped on its head. Clemson is no longer in that picture. I think like they're kind of here where everybody else is up here, where we talk about playoff contenders are like, oh, Alabama for sure, Ohio State for sure, Georgia, Why can't they make a comeback? USC and Texas are making headlines. Clemson's been kind of in this weird area, this weird little bubble where they've just been kind of floating around, waiting. They've been waiting for the season to start. But you know what? Excuse the dog in the background because I just can't control that. But they've been kind of floating. They've been kind of waiting. They've been kind of just sitting there. This class sends a message. There's a ton of talented stars, and they're not done yet. It's kind of crazy to think about, but it's almost, in a way, showing you that this program is stronger. It's built to last. That one bad season, one disappointing. I'm using air quotes. If you're not watching on YouTube, you can see that I'm really trying to be light with those words because I don't really see last year as bad. I just see it as it's just a step in the program. It's just one bump in the hill till they get back to the national championship, which is their ultimate goal. I hope this message wasn't too convoluted or too kind of all over the place, but I did want to make a quick segment about it to kind of explain my thoughts on it and how significant this class is going to be. So I'm going to take a short break. When I return, we're going to talk about how Mac Jones can determine the fate of the AFC East and how he is the X factor moving forward. This is MWP Podcast. We'll be right back.